Today on the Startoon Cartoon Podcast, we are one-on-one with Rossi Gifford. Rossi works in animation and she makes comic books. Her book, Spirit Leaves, is out from Chapterhouse. And she currently works at Smiley Guy Studios as a designer. So we're going to talk about that today. So while we're at Smiley Guy, the main thing I want to talk to you right now is the animation side. We'll get to your comics and how you got through all that, but you're not from around here.
I'm not.
Getting an animation here in Canada, in Toronto, all that kind of thing, like how did that happen? Let's get right to the animation part.
The adventure.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I studied illustration. I was interested in studying animation, but I went to Duncan or Jordanston, which is east coast of Scotland, and they ordered a general foundation course, and that allowed you to try everything out. So that was perfect. I was like, okay, I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet. But I thought I was going to be like doing animation animator. I think The Illusionist was coming out then, so I was just like, oh, that's great.
Cool. Yeah.
So it was like, and it was going apeshit because like, oh, it's based in Edinburgh, it was done in Scotland, and everyone was going crazy about it. So I'm like, whoa, this is great. I want to be part of that. But then going there, I was like, we had like course introductions, and we saw illustration, and it was just basically you draw all the time. And I'm like, I just want to do that. And it was a really tight spot. It was really competitive, and I worked my ass off for it. And I got in, and it didn't turn out how it was cracked up to be.
Okay.
So the first year, it was just like very different approaches of drawing. When I say that, I feel they don't really teach you how to draw that well, like perspective and not enough life drawing.
So not a lot of fundamentals?
No, which is pure daft to me, in my opinion.
Right.
But there was some life drawing. But anyway, I had a lot of friends that did animation, and I would crash in their life drawing classes, so I got at least better at drawing that. But it was really disappointing, and I just couldn't get my style down, and anything I did just felt mediocre and not as good as everyone else. Everyone was really like, was a little older and knew what they were doing, and I'm just like, all right, I'm apparently not very good at this. And then in third year, I took a module for comic books. And it was, again, a little short list for it. And I was like, will I make money? And then I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't care. I want to try it.
Right.
And I got in, and I think that's what really changed things for me. And I tried it, and I loved it. I got the really good treatment from my tutors there, and they really inspired me to do more. And then I had the opportunity to go through my mum's university because she was head dean of the time. So special treatment there. There was all a bunch of music students, and she got me on board on the trip. And they were like, on the airport, everyone's like, who are you? I'm like, oh, I'm Rossi. We've talked on Facebook, it's fine. So I'm that mystery girl. So they were like, all right. So we all flew over, and I already had to Toronto. And for me, my first 2 weeks was going to be at Nelvana. And that was really exciting.
You had something set up?
Yeah, there was already things set up for me. Well, when I got there, they were like, we've heard about you coming here. We don't quite know what to do with you yet. I'm like, that's okay, but I went under the wing of Brad Coombs.
Okay.
And that was great.
And what were you doing?
I was doing designs and concepts. I was doing just little tests.
Yeah.
Because obviously they couldn't pay me or anything like that because I was just there for a couple of weeks and it would have been illegal. But I was basically just under the wing of Brad Coombs, who's one of the most incredible designers I've met, and he's local here and not enough people know about him. But he's very talented, and he was giving me the scopes of how he approached drawing, the programs he used, what shows he's been working on, and it was amazing. And I was like, wow, this guy can really draw and is just a really laid-back, cool guy. And then I spent 2 weeks there, and he gave me really good feedback, and it was really positive. And I was like, I'm not used to this. This is so nice. And then I moved on to Yowza in Liberty Village. Okay. And I did some tests for Napkin Man.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun too. It was really, really different because I was just I was working with Flash stuff as well, so I was just like, I don't know what to do here, but it was really good and out of my comfort zone, and I just met so many people, and through that.
And this is all just sort of on the strength of portfolio and just going door to door?
Word of mouth and door to door.
Yeah.
I didn't even have a portfolio then. So I really just came in and...
So how did you find Yowza from being over at Nelvana?
They had that, I think the school that my mom's had, like my mom's school, they set that up as well. I'm not quite sure how they did it, but they did it. But through Heather, she introduced me to Solace, and I went to visit them, and then I spent like the remainder of my few weeks there. And they were great as well. They just were like, oh, do you want to try this out? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I would be doing such a mediocre job, but they were like, no, why don't you try this and this, that? And it was really positive, and it was such a fresh approach, like for me, of my style of drawing was just so criticized back home, and then here was very like, there's a lot of potential here, just keep going with it. I'm like, okay, I will. And so when I came back, that's when everything kind of changed, and I did like Spirit Leaves. I did that as my final year show piece.
So you were here in Toronto and you went back and did Spirit Leaves?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I was...
There was like a whole year between?
It was, I think, that was before I started 4th year. So already I was already planning like my final degree show, and I didn't know what to do, but I knew it was going to be a comic book. So I think, yeah, it's all coming back to me now, funnily enough. I did all my thumbnails while I was in Toronto, and I was getting the story kind of evolving and doing sketches.
So you got some studio exposure mid-schooling here in Toronto.
Yeah.
And then went back to finish. Okay, I didn't know you'd had that previous... Like I thought, okay, keep going, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's still kind of confusing to me.
No, it's cool.
Because I visited Toronto quite a few times after that. I came in the winter, and then I came over like after I graduated. I was here for 4 months, and I must have came to Smiley.
I think that's when I met you. It was Matthias brought you by.
Yeah, he did.
Because he would have known you from
Because I met Matthias through Solace.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I had seen...
Because you had already seen Spirit Leaves, did you not? No.
I had seen Spirit Leaves somewhere. I was aware of it. Like I somewhere along the way, or like we had been at something together, or either an art show or something like that.
I think so.
But then, so when he mentioned, I don't know, maybe it was through the raid stuff.
Maybe.
Because you were kind of...
Because I was there too. There was a lot of places I went to.
Yeah, it must have been through, I think it was, I knew your name through Calman and through the raid guys.
Yes.
And so when Matthias brought you by Smiley, you brought me a book.
I did. That was after university then. It's all clear to me now. It was after the degree shows, and it was the 4 months trip I did, and that's when I came to Smiley Guys, and I already had my self-published book, and I was handing out to people.
Yeah.
And I had my niece and nephew like carry that through like cereal boxes to get through like the airport. So they were carrying like all of my comic books.
You smuggled your comics
into smuggled
Canada?
My comics for me in cereal boxes, like the jumbo packs. And they were like, Auntie Rosie, it's so heavy. I'm like, you did good. I'll treat you to a Tim Hortons.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, so we smuggled like 50 issues or so here, or maybe 100. Because I carried some, and every one of my family members just smuggled some. And then I went to the comic book stores here and just said, look, here's a set. I'll come in a few weeks and see how much I make. And it was doing really well. So every few weeks I was going to the Silver Snail, the Beguiling, and another store in Kensington I don't think it's there
They're
anymore.
not there anymore.
No.
Yeah.
But I was always coming in, tracking in. Like Silver Snail was great. Like George Zordi was like, yeah, sure. And then they took a percentage, and I came in. But we're talking about comics. I need to talk about animation.
That's okay. It all kind of bleeds together.
It kinda,
Because it's how you ended up here.
Yeah.
It was the comic that I saw that I just really enjoyed it. I liked it. But I guess it was like right near the end of your trip when I met you.
I think so, because
you were heading back.
Yes, it was. I was going back in October, and it was that October I got my work and holiday visa, so I was coming back in January. Okay. So it was pretty much like between when I first came here and then that spell of like graduating and everything, a lot of stuff had happened. So I already had the chance to meet other different studios and everything and connect with people, and I just kept in touch. So really, my portfolio compared to like some like students now was pretty awful. But I just knew people, and I was interesting to listen to.
But coming from the comic side, your work is, I mean, we get a lot of animators who aren't big, aren't drawing centric, because it's a lot of just sort of, not everything, but there's a lot of symbol pushing, a lot of animators who aren't big drawers. It's just different qualities.
Yeah.
And for me, having come from that place that it was just drawing as well, that's what I liked about your stuff. You draw. everything is a fresh drawing. You're not reusing. You're not grabbing this from here and moving it over here and grabbing it. Like it's not. There's very little of those habits that come from being in today's animation world.
Yeah.
In what you do, and that's what I liked about you potentially as a designer. And I just really liked your work. So that's you were on my radar right away that way. But I think the thing is, it's easy to diminish this because you went out and you hustled, but you don't think of it that way so much.
No.
But you did. We were
I guess
talking
I
about
did.
the hustle with one of our other interviews, and it's a lot of people end up at a studio, but they don't get that cross pollination to the next one. You always seem to have gone. You wherever you are, you find the next place, and the next door opens. And
Yeah,
that's still got to be you.
I've been very, I would say I always, before I was saying I was very lucky, but I have a very good friend who lives here who's like, you make your own luck. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't want to just accept that. I think I'm lucky though that, yeah, I was able to meet the right people and, like going to Yao's, I was introduced to Solace, and then Solace kind of was so like well respected, and those guys were so terrific for me, especially when I did properly move back here. They were the studio, they were just like, come work for us, we'll give you like freelance stuff, and they really took care of me, and that's where I was able to just like, because when you move to a country and you don't really know anyone or don't know it that well, where do you go for work? It's pretty intimidating. But my dad was nervous as hell for me. He was just like, oh, my little girl. And I was like, I'll be fine. I'm just going to fly over in the next few days. I just reached out to people and letting them know I was in the city. And my portfolio was just like a little booklet I made, like a catalog. And it was this A-high, and I would just go over and leave it for people. So I had a different way of showing my portfolio as well. Nowadays, it would probably just be like, we want everything in PDF now, but I would come present
nowadays.
it.
It was like 2 years ago.
I know, but still, I still like everyone wants PDFs now. And
But it's funny because that's the way you did it is basically the way we used to do it in my day.
Yeah.
It was.
It's old school.
It's the same story. It's to say like you drop off like a photocopied a throwaway portfolio.
I think it's like I believe in first impressions so much. Like the first 2 minutes, it's like it's gotta make or break you.
Yeah,
so
like I didn't get an email from you until after we'd met.
I think so, yeah.
Most of that stuff I usually get like people send me their stuff, and you knew that you wanted to get into the places.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was just like, I want to be in this environment. And with animation especially, I love the idea of character design. Like I was really into like manga and anime as a kid. But I grew up with like the Ghibli movies, but also like European comics. That was like a huge thing. My parents were pretty great that way, that they exposed me to so much.
Yeah, I mean, so that's when we ask a lot of people, like, what's the family life like that led you here? You had a supportive family in terms of like the arts?
Like my dad, he was a professor of Scottish literature, and my mom was like, she did film and media as a professor, and then moved up as dean for the arts aspect of the colleges. And no one in my family drew. I think though, my older sister, I have two older sisters that kind of doodled away, and they were great. And then my other sister, Jojo, she used to draw me like little comics, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer comics, because that was my favorite thing. And I loved it, and I was like, as a little kid, and then I just took it on from there. And she stopped drawing, but I just kept going. Yeah. So I think that was my early exposure of being like, I want to doodle too. Yeah. But I drew before I could talk.
Yeah, so there was a direct model for you there, and then there was no impediment from sort of the career like the idea of what a career should be from just your family.
They were great. Like my first choice, like an art school back at home, Glasgow School of Art is like renowned, and that was where I wanted to go to. I think that was my first heartbreak because I didn't get in.
Okay.
I remember that night very well. It was like a walk around the house, like, oh, it was like losing a love, because that was such a goal of mine. Like even from a young age, I think I've been very lucky. I've always been very focused, because it took me a while to get to start talking properly and process information. Okay. It is a disability of mine. I process things much slower. So I didn't start talking until I was 5.
Really?
Yeah, so that's why I would just point and make noises. That's why I'm very
never guess
jazz
it now.
hands.
I'm a hand talker too. I started talking at around 10 months, but I haven't stopped yet.
Yeah, but
it doesn't seem to hold you back.
No, but it was always a bit of a challenge for me. But I think that kind of aspect of like having to really focus on the simplest things made me very focused as a kid. So I knew I was wanting to go to art school. Didn't get to my first choice, but I went to Dundee. And usually, there's only 4 art schools in Scotland, so you apply to all 4. I only went for 2. I was either Glasgow or Dundee, and that was it. And then I got to Dundee.
Nice.
I'd never been to Dundee before until actually driving up for my first class. I got there the day before, unpacked. I was like, this is the city. So I think I've always had that approach of just moving to somewhere new, not knowing a thing, and being like, what do we have here? And just test it out. But yeah.
So, okay, so you come back on your second time around, having had a little taste of that there were studios around, you knew a little bit of the landscape, you knew a little bit of the comics people, and you brought your comic back, you've got it out in the shops. So when did this become day job? When did animation become actual day job? Like how did all that, so give me some chronology when you came back. So you came back for the 4 months.
For the 4 months.
Peddled the comic, checked around, and then went back.
Yeah, so that 4 months, like I was waiting for my work and holiday visa and I had no idea when that was going to happen. So as soon as I got back, I got it literally a few weeks after. And I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm moving to Canada in January. They were like, oh, okay. So there was just a few months of getting ready for that. And that's when I was reaching out to people. And it was getting kind of difficult because everyone like was wanting me to come to some studios, but they were like, oh, have you done your taxes? I'm like, what?
Tax credits.
Oh, yeah.
A quick aside, tax credits.
Tax credits.
This is something that's good to talk about. And tax credit legislation, this is how we fund a lot of our programs here in Canada. And the way it's set up is that for an artist to be on a crew and be able to be qualified to have tax credits returned on them, they have to have been in the province paying taxes as of December 31st of the previous year. So that kind of that limits often some of your hiring. It means traveling from province to province is hard enough. Then you got somebody coming from another country. And you came in January, so you missed it by like that.
It was like, it's out of my control then, and especially like, especially with the government, they didn't know what I was really, it was a miracle even, like I've gone this far really for the job I do.
But so that's where, so with Clara, with Clara, we needed the drawing chops. And Rossi was really suited to it. It was really, really well suited to it, and Erin really liked her work. And so we were prepared to have that one position. And whenever you're hearing about this in a school or in a talk, you always hear that once in a while someone makes an exception. So this is one of the exceptions in that case, is that we needed someone who did this and did it well and did it the way she did. And so we were prepared to take on an employee and pay them and not be able to claim tax credits on that one budget. So that's where the timing was good for you, and that there was a very specific need to fill, and Rossi filled it very well. So that's my aside on tax credits.
Yeah, it's very important. Look it up, kids. Once I got here in January, like early February, I had like maybe a few weeks where I was just kind of looking out and didn't know where to go. And that's when I went to Solace. And I was there pretty much like early, like winter, springtime.
What did you work on?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. I think I worked on like stuff for Cisco, which I'm not sure what it is, but I was drawing lots of ninjas, ninja emojicons and stuff like that. And just little bits and pieces.
Design work though?
Yeah, all design work. Like I was working off from like loose work, and then like cleaning up and stuff, and then they let me do my own stuff, and they're great. Those guys are great, and they let me try an animation once, like try to animate. It was horrific, and I'm like, this is not me. I can't do this. Maybe later in life, but it was just, every pose was just like jagged. I'm like, God, there's a skill to this. Oh my God. But it was actually that was my early sense of design, what makes good design. And actually, something that's always stuck with me was what Matthias told me, was every line costs money, so make us less, but convey what it is. So to me, that's always stuck with me. I'm always like, yeah, less lines. It's less fiddly, and it's cheaper. I don't know why, it always dawned on me that, and I think of like Bruce Timm and everything, like his structures, and I'm like, that makes perfect sense. I like it. I like it a lot.
Mess up.
Yeah, exactly. So I was really pretty much started as freelance at Solace, and then I started, I think, at Smiley Guys, and that was with Cursive Clara.
Right.
because it was Aaron, because we were talking about another project, and Aaron had seen my sketchbook, and he was asking about me, I think.
So Cursive Clara was a Christmas special we did here at Smiley Guy that I was on. Ballet and hockey and dancers and a lot of design. And we were trying to do a lot of it traditionally animated as well, right at the beginning. So you landed on Clara in a concept design position. And how long did that run?
Was that June until August?
Something like that.
It
I guess
was
because
a few months.
because the show wrapped in December for Christmas.
Yes, I remember that because it was only 3 months, and that was great because it was great working with Aaron. Super good.
Aaron
he was,
Hong.
yeah.
He was our art director.
That guy, he's so good, so good. But he was really encouraging as well.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny because I was coming in and I was like, what do you guys want me to do? Do you have any briefs for me? It's like, just draw, just go crazy. And I'm like, okay. And it was really refreshing. And I would come in and just be doodling. I'm like, am I even working? Like, I'm just doodling stuff. But it was actually, once you kind of get fiddly with it, there was a lot of processing and a lot of developing, and it was great with Aaron. And then obviously seeing the progression of it, it was just like, whoa, that's so cool.
Well, because that's one also, I think that's where it worked really the way it's supposed to, and that you had Aaron as the art director on it, who was setting the parameters. But even we had Freddie Carrasco was also doing a little bit of design work.
Yeah.
And so the Philip Zito character, it was actually Fred did some really interesting, big, chunky, clunky designs that then Aaron brought back into kind of the style of it.
Yeah.
And it was a way and it was great to have, because Aaron himself, he wanted those other voices to inform what he was doing too.
It was a great contrast actually. Like Aaron is just able to kind of put things together and make it work, while you're having Freddie just kind of doing his thing, and then I'm just kind of like, cute little girls pouncing about, but it worked really well.
Yeah, it came together really well.
It did. And that was a lot of fun. It was really refreshing for me, and being part of something like that, and then seeing the final result. I never had seen actual designs I have kind of done, and then seeing them move and talk. That was just kind of like, wow, that's so cool. And then I remember during that time, and this was leading to the big job, the big job, but it was a big job at the time because I was obviously on a work and holiday visa.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm thinking about, am I going to stay here? And it was really stressful. And that's when I met Jeffrey Timmings. And he was a storyboard artist at Yowza. We met up for beers, very casual. This is how I usually get my jobs, is through over a nice cold pint, and I bring a sketchbook because he does beautiful illustrations and children's books. And I was like, have you doodled on paper for a while, man? And he's like, no, I haven't. I'm like, here's a sketchbook, and we're doodling away. And he's like, I may have something for you. Yeah. Would you be interested in doing a test? And I'm like, yeah, sure, all right. I didn't realize he was the art director for this upcoming Nickelodeon show. He avoided that moment. He basically didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
I think to not intimidate me, because I think I would have been like, okay. But that was a few months of kind of figuring the details of that, because it was getting kind of tricky, and there was some sponsorship issues that led to that. But yeah, I was starting that job in October, so I was dead excited. I've been so intense, sending everything, and I remember, it's funny, I remember submitting my work, and I took crappy photos of my sketchbook, and it looked like shit. It was awful. It was so bad.
But the drawings are good. That's all that matters.
That was the thing. It's funny.
If the right person, if the right person looking at them, they understand what they're looking at.
It's so funny. I was evaluating work last year when we were trying to get recruitments, and they're Sheridan, Folk, and Seneca people, and I'm just thinking, oh my God, is this what students making nowadays? Yeah. I literally took camera photos, and it's a flashlight, and it's so awful and fuzzy. I'm like, God, there you go. I guess that's good. You could tell on the shitty photograph that I could draw.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. But anyway, I got that, and that was really stressful just because sponsorships weren't going well. I was running out of time.
Right. So all the Canadian citizenship sponsorships, that kind of stuff.
That was super intense.
That's tricky. It's really tricky.
Yeah. I got my work permit a week before I was going to be deported. And I remember because I submitted everything over Christmas, And I was just like, okay, this is, I lose my apartment, what's going to go on? And like people on Yowza, like my managers and all that, are just trying to figure out what to do. And we were just like, do I take back a Cintiq with me, or do they give me money to like do it back in Scotland? We just didn't know.
And it's hard for the smaller companies. I mean, even in the last couple of years, even the bigger companies, like ARC did this a lot before they were gone. They had a lot of people, a lot of foreign people that they hired. And in that last year, like 2 years ago, the same time you were doing it, the rules had all changed. So they had people that had been working there for like 10, 15 years that all of a sudden they were maybe going to lose.
I know, it was great. Like Yowza at that point, it was really amazing because they didn't want to lose me. So we were trying to think of everything. So that was like, it was pretty awesome to kind of be like, whoa, I'm such demand. But I'm also like, this is a lot of work. And it was stressful, but then I got it.
And it was a really kind of cartoony show.
Yeah.
It's a very different kind of thing. So Clara was really more closer to what you draw in the first place. It was like we asked you to come in and basically draw like you. I mean, look at what Aaron was doing, and we gave you some style guide kind of things to look at. But that is a show that already has a look.
Yes.
And you had to design in that style. That was a more typical animation job.
I'm trying to remember the illustrator again. Zach. He's an illustrator. He does really.
Zach Gorman?
Yes, Zach Gorman. Yes, he was the original designer for Welcome to the Wayne. That was the show that I was working on. Yeah. And the main issue was amazing designer, but it's so asymmetrical. My point of coming into the show was to make it animatable. They looked at like 200 applicants' work, and no, it was such a tricky style. And my style, like again, I didn't study animation. I don't follow structure that well. I'm kind of wonky with my like drawing skills, so it kind of worked out. Yeah. And I call it the potato and stick show because that's what the characters essentially are, like stacks of spuds and twigs and stuff. And I was like, how do you make that attractive? But it was his style that I had to kind of adapt to, and that was really fun. Yeah, it was really fun. But
and I mean, and it's different. Still, you were well. I mean, because for someone like I know your work put pretty well, and you're more like your human figures. You're that kind of a. I wouldn't say you're a realistic artist because it's very stylized, but you're coming more from that kind of place. Yeah. And this is a really cartoony show.
Very cartoony.
But as those go, I remember because when you talked to me about it at the time, I felt that you were. If you were going to get a shot at one of these shows, it felt like a good fit.
It was a good fit. It was a really like more of an ease approach to it. Yeah. And I remember my first day working there, I was so nervous. I did like 40 concepts of kids, and they were just like, "Wow, this is great!" And I was just like, oh, "Did I do okay? Was this okay?" Because I was so nervous. And then eventually, like, ease into it. And it was a great show. That it was a very it was difficult in different levels, like the clients, but they really liked my work. Yeah. I met the creators of the show, and they were like, "Great stuff! It makes us laugh." And I was like, "That's all you." It's great when you get that feedback. Cool. But I learned a lot of things of like prop designs, and then everyone realizing I wasn't told perspective. And so
because you've been faking that.
Yeah, I was faking it. But Jeffrey's like, Rossi, they're really good, but they're kind of wonky. I'm like, I don't know perspective. He was like, oh, I will teach you in like half an hour.
Let's sit down together.
Let's sit down and let's look at ellipses. And I'm like, oh. So it was like, but we realized like I couldn't just do prop designs. Like I just wasn't structurally solid as that compared to humans. Like the people and animals were a breeze. Yeah. But then it was just obviously you just hearing like clients' requests and everything and adapting and just being fast. Yeah. Just being fast, like boom, boom, boom. And so there was a flow that was going really well over the summer. And I think what was really nice about that show was it was my designs. Like I was just the only designer. So that was kind of nice seeing my actual drawings not being touched by anyone else coming alive and seeing like the creatures and everything. And that's when I was starting to posing for characters and rotations, and it was really like helpful for me to just be a better artist in general.
So I guess that's one of my questions, because it's not like you stopped doing your comics either while all this was going on.
Oh, no.
And we'll get to that after. Yes. But so how did designing an animation, what effect did that have on back into your comics maybe?
It definitely, what they liked about me with comics like at Yowza was I was a very strong poser, but they were wonky. So now I feel like going to Yowza and I did that, my posing's only gone stronger now. And like I'm bold when it comes to that. Like I'll just come up with any erratic poses and gestures. So I think with comics, it's just made it more structurally stronger. And just getting like subtleties of faces and like just overall rotations was really difficult for me for a while. Like just trying to get everything proportionally right in all angles. Because I still kind of struggle with that, but it's getting better.
But you've had a ton more practice.
Yeah, it's just all down to practice, and I believe in drawing digitally is great. I love it, but traditionally too, I try to keep it balanced, because I know so many people that draw digitally and can't draw on paper, and it's like, why? Why not? Come on, get your pencil and paper and just like get it down. It's so important because people are always. Sometimes I've done this now because I use this antique a lot. I will hit like the paper to go back, and I'm like,
really?
Yeah, I've done that like at least once, and I'm like, that's awful. That's so bad. I'm like, where's my putty? Just erase it.
So you were at Yazoo for how long?
That was over a year.
Over a year?
Yeah, so it was a long production.
Yeah.
So it was perfect for me that it allowed me to stay here longer, and it was really good for that.
Yeah.
I was just like, I remember my mom just being like, that's awesome.
And now you're back at Smiley Guy.
I know.
And right now you're working on a very different show.
I'm working on 3 different things right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just say 3 top secrets. But yes.
Which is often the case with these
3
things.
top secret projects, but all very different.
Yeah.
So one show is more, it reminds me of like Welcome to the Wayne, but it's like obviously more structural and more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been pretty, I've only been drawn like on that show for a few days. And then the other shows are just more like, more kind of Disney kind of style and animals and stuff. So it's kind of like a completely different area. But it's great. It's kind of nice to know, like, it's like, Rossi, can you do this? Rossi, can you do that? I'm like, yeah. Another advice I got here, it was actually Rich that told me. He said to me, you can be someone who's good at everything, like gonna be all right at everything, so you're very adaptable, or have a style that everybody wants.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuck with me too.
Yeah.
I think it's important though to be really adaptable to different styles.
Yeah, I think it's, so you're at an interesting point in that you've only been doing this for a couple of years, but you do have some distinct things about what you do that like certainly when we got you for Clara, it was because of what you do. Yeah. You know, but there's that thing that happens in animation where you spend a lot of time drawing like other people, which if you don't lose your thing in it all, if you're still someone who makes it, and you're someone who makes, you make your comics, you can learn a lot from those other styles, from those other approaches, and see how then they inform what you do. At the same time, a lot of us just become chameleons. Yes. And you lose your way.
You do. That was my biggest fear, was with Jeffrey, because the Welcome to the Wayne is more his kind of style, that's all he could draw in. And he was pretty adaptable in other things, but he was even saying to me, like, we're doing the Wayne, like, all I can draw is the Wayne style. And I'm like, oh no, like, there's so much more. Yeah. But I was doing the Wayne style, and then obviously doing Spirit Leaves, and I make a dedication to doodle as well, like my own stuff. Like after I watch a movie, I'm like, I want to draw that character.
Yeah,
and how will I draw that character? And some people love that stuff.
Yeah, your Instagram is always
it's always popping
up,
with random shit, and it's like, when do you have time? It's like, my blessing is that I'm a very fast draftsman. I'm pretty fast. Yeah. So I'm just like,
oh, I've seen it. I know.
Yeah, seen the action.
So while all this was going on, you kept at it with the comics.
Mm-hmm. I have this one. I made an effort to get the Spider-Gwen.
I have that one. Giant size, that Spider-Man. But mine are all in really terrible condition, but I kind of like them that way because they look like they've been read. They've been read to death. You know, and that's, for me, that's kind of like what comics are supposed to do. Rossi is someone who works in comics, which is why we're in this place, West End Comics in Parkdale. They've been kind enough to let us come and hang out in the back of the store, surrounded by all this stuff that I love.
It's pretty cool.
Because Rossi makes comics.
Whoa.
She works in animation during the day, mostly as a character designer. But that's not where you started out.
Not really, no. I knew I wanted to do comics at a young age. And then dissolved for a little while, and then it was, again, university. I started doing it.
You talked about animation being something you were curious about getting into and into school, but when you got into school, you were comics.
Well, it was illustration, and actually, when I started doing comics, my tutors hated the fact I was doing comics. Hated it. The illustration, that was like, you can draw whatever you want, and you draw all the time. And then I said I want to do a comic book for my degree show, and they were like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, why? And they were like, well, other people have tried before and have failed, and it's too much work, and you're not going to get done in time. We're going to have to fail you. I'm like, I've not even started yet. Let me give it a shot. I can do this. And I remember almost getting weepy and going to see my tutor who did the comics module going, Phil, oh my God, they're not going to let me do this. Like, I don't know what to do. And he was like, calm down. Because I wanted to do 40 pages. And he was like, cut it by half. And then he was like, that's your problem. Cut it by half and you can do it. I'm like, okay, I will. So I did. And I did my first issue of Spirit Leaves in 7 weeks from start to finish.
20 pages?
22 pages.
22 pages?
22 pages and a cover.
Get it.
The
This
original.
is how I met you.
Yeah.
You came into the studio with Matthias Horhager, and I have a signed copy of this. This is Spirit Leaves. This was your. You did this in school as a school assignment.
Yeah, that was just like you have like your degree show, so you have a piece or pieces to show, and everyone was doing like, glass like window pieces and sculptures and really amazing stuff. And I was like, that's what I did. And I did it all in 7 weeks, and it was really great. Like before printing, we got Dave Gibbons and Frank Quietly.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I can't help it, but like, when I saw this, you can't help it. I mean, you knew what you were doing when you got a Dave Gibbons quote right on the cover. Rossi's work is excellent. I won't bother doing it. I won't do an accent.
No.
Rossi's work is excellent, dynamic, and involving with a gorgeous color palette. You should go far. She should go far, and you can quote me, which you did right on the cover of your book.
Right on the cover.
Frank Quietly, who is like my favorite artist of all time. Rossi Gifford's comic is meticulously planned and beautifully executed, full of playful tricks and rich in texture and detail. Very impressive. Dan McDay, James Devlin, and Ramon Perez.
Yes.
Local boy done well. A beautifully rendered surreal adventure. But it's a great book. It's an unusual book.
It's different. It's certainly the thing everyone always comments to me, like fans and other professionals say, is the layout. And I'm like, well, this was a dream I had. Like a very basis of having a little white figure running in the woods. And I was like, that's a really fun concept. And to me, it's in the woods. Why should it be paneled up like a grid? So I just was playing around with the layouts and everything. Very relying on like European comics, and just heavy gesturing and acting is so important to me in comics. So that's why it's so more elaborate. Yeah, it's just so funny seeing it now. It's so different. Like it's been 3 years now.
Yeah.
And I just finished issue 5 like last week.
One of the theories about learning to do comics is learn the old ways first. The 9-panel grid, the classical storytelling. Before you start deconstructing and tearing things apart, learn the reasons why they're doing them. But you came right out of the gates with this kind of experimental storytelling, and it's mostly successful.
Yeah.
For a first book, it's really, really solid. And so that's, and you've got some of the design in the back as well, which is kind of nice. That's sort of what caught my eye too, in terms of you were doing.
The process was, I think that was important. If you're gonna get the comic, you needed extra material, and it's been great for kids. It's been really, sometimes it's been lovely, like just having kids come over for my degree show. I was there every day selling my book, and I read it to kids in prams and showed it to them, and they loved it.
Yeah.
They would love like the ending and everything. And then after that, I was doing a couple of workshops for kids and university students. So I'd be coming in and just telling them about it. And people would be like, I want to do a story just like that with the same format, but it's sci-fi. I'm like, you can't do that. It's just, you don't force that storytelling. Like for me, it just felt like I had to be that way. So when you are storytelling, it really you have to think of how that format's going to work to tell the story you can at the best way it can be.
Well, and this is what had me look twice at you. It was an impressive work as a first piece. It's outstanding.
Yeah, that was my portfolio, really.
Yeah. The other part then is, you've got a day job, drawing all day, but it's not like you quit doing this.
Nope.
So did you just after this issue? Did you just keep making on your own?
Yeah.
Like did you have a plan for it immediately?
I knew I wanted to do a second issue because I wanted to do my 40-page story.
Right. You want to finish the story. Okay.
So I did that first issue, and I knew either way I was going to do issue 2 for sure. And that was when I came back to Canada. That's when Chapterhouse was really interested, and I was like, that's really convenient because I just finished issue 2. But they were like, we need more issues. I'm like, oh, okay, I can try and think of something. So it's only a short, like 5-part story. So, and you always have the first two books are one arc, and then the next 3 are like one long arc.
Or a whole other story. Yeah. Okay.
But it's just it kind of continues from that
Did you re-release issue 1 here too?
Yes.
So did you have to reformat this thing for?
I didn't know. They actually did a good job. I think actually, I have a copy of it.
I guess
here.
the individual
It
pages
is
are
funny
closer.
to see it because that's the alternative cover. But it's funny I was worried about that, but it actually still came out pretty strong. And
Because it's not quite. Well, I guess sorry, this is now we're getting really geeky.
it's more vibrant. It's pretty intense. This is pretty old though.
Yeah, but I'm just even the dimensions are a little different.
Yeah.
But I think you've got a big margin, so maybe that's all they really had to do was tweak the
Yeah.
margin a little bit.
I think so.
I've actually never held one of these.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Actually, I thought it did it pretty well. And then in the next books, like issue 3 looked great. I was really happy with that. And I think issue 4 and 5 will look lovely as well.
Did you move to a more standard storytelling as you went forward, or did you try to stick to this kind of ethereal? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you just get kind of. It was more kind of like splash pages that way. Like sometimes you worry that you get very repetitive. But talking to like Vinny about it, Frank Quietly, he's just like, no, try and keep it basic. Like start from your like left to right. Just try and keep it basic if you're going to do something that elaborate. So I kind of did.
So you just call him up.
Yeah.
Vinny.
Yeah.
So how did you meet him?
How did I meet him? I met.
Explain who he is.
This guy is just one of like probably the top talents in comics, as well as like a unknown Scottish icon. He was born in Glasgow. He's got a family.
But he goes by Frank Quietly.
Frank Quietly, yes, which I quite like.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
And he started out doing small stuff.
Yeah, he was doing like those kind of like pothead comics for a while.
And comic strips.
Yeah. And it was nice because he was very influenced by like the Beano, like what's his name, Big Dan. I think he eats like the cow pie. He's got a really big chin, which he referenced for Superman.
Can't think of what it is.
But it's from the Beano, which is like a classic
That's
little
a
strip.
That's a very
British
thing.
And Ua Willie, like so it's kind of nice. You see some of those remnants because they're great comics, like always consistently good, and they're very fun, very gestural, pretty cheeky.
Yeah.
But when you see Vinny's work, he's just got a sense of like cinematography.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
it's beautiful.
And
So he's most
pacing.
well known for All-Star Superman,
Yeah,
probably.
it's probably buried in here
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
I think Vinny, the first time actually I picked up a comic book was actually his X-Men. I saw the Wolverine cover with the claws.
So he did the Grant Morrison X-Men run.
Yes.
That was a big one that put him. I mean, I found his work first on Flex Mentallo.
Oh,
years
yes.
and years ago, which
Yes.
blew my mind.
And then We Three.
We Three is still a
Yeah.
book that we have at home that made Alex cry.
Oh, God, yeah.
And he's worked with some of the best writers in the business. Yeah. But the All-Star Superman is one, and this is one that I find interesting too because like a lot of stuff that DC does, they made an animated version of it. And I think people this is a design thing. This is where I come from, his work, it's hard, because Calvin and I talked about it on the Canuck thing, and I was using him as an example because his work isn't hyper-exaggerated in a lot of ways, but there's like curls up in the toe, and there's little touches that, that's where you have to kind of, if you're taking it over to animation as a designer to try to give it something distinct, those are the things you have to accentuate, and I think a lot of people miss that.
Yeah.
And so I find, this is why I struggle with a lot of these adaptations that DC does. Because that's one where I thought they had an opportunity to really nail what he does, and I think it would have taken an anime to deal with his designs. Because his designs are very subtle.
They are, That's the thing. I think it's only that subtle detail you can get in comics that we can pay attention and spend hours looking at. But in animation, you just don't see
It's hard.
that.
It's hard.
It's
So that's why
really
I'm saying you have to pick those things that what are the things that you can exaggerate about his design work that will make it recognizably his in animation and still make it animatable.
Yes.
And he would be a tricky one, but it's one of those where I think it could be done unfortunately better than it has been.
I know. Just very squishy people.
Yeah,
very
kind of
squishy.
pulpy.
Yeah, pulpy people. Yeah.
This is hilarious. Like Frank Whiteley, Dave Gibbons, Dan McDade. How do you get a Dave Gibbons quote on your first book coming out of school? How do you get a Dave Gibbons quote?
Well, that was the luxury of the comics module. Again, when I saw my kid on Tuesday, he's still like, yeah, you're the best student I've ever had. Frankly, yeah. I'm like,
that must be nice.
I was like, well, but I was enthusiastic, and I remember, like, after just doing that, I did a lot of things with those guys, like Phil Vaughn and Chris Murray. Chris Murray is actually a doctor in comics. That's his title.
Okay.
Dr.
Maybe
Comics.
Chris, reference these people when you say them to us.
Yes, I will. They want to be mentioned.
And explain to us who they are, because not everybody knows.
Well, Phil Vaughn is he is a tutor at Duncan or Jordanston at the art school I went to, and he does like masters in animation, and he is part of like that comics module we do, and he does like the modules like the masters. So I know that Dundee is the only place you can do a masters in comics.
Yeah.
So that's pretty rare, and Chris runs it, and he's also like professor of English literature, and they're a great team. And I think really thanks to them, I was able to get Spirit Leaves. They helped me get the print costs.
Yeah.
They already were in touch with Dave Gibbons and stuff, and they just said, like, let's give it a shot. We can't verify if they're going to do it or not, because Vinny
But they just sent it out.
They sent it out, and I already met Dave Gibbons before because he did little lectures for us.
Okay.
The first day I met him.
He came, he was there.
He was there. I was wearing my Watchmen t-shirt, just kind of grinning like, hi, Dave. And he's like, oh, there's someone keen. I'm like, that's me. And I was really excited.
That, don't hesitate. I mean, I think I was lucky enough at one of the latest cons, I met Bernie Wrightson, and he just passed away.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things, because I'm shy at a con.
Yeah, you can't. I was very shy in high school and college. I hardly spoke. Which is, people don't believe me when I tell them.
No.
Like, but it was really when I did the comics module and when I came to Toronto, people were really nice to me. And I was like, this is different. And I just kind of like sparked up from it. And so I wasn't really fearful of talking to people. And at that point, I get it a lot where people come over and they expect something. While when I was visiting people, I didn't assume anything at all, and I just wanted their opinions and their advice on stuff. And I think people found that you could tell I wasn't out for anything. But that's when, at the end, at the long term, some people offer you things that you least expected. So that's kind of nice.
So now you're behind the table at the cons. You're signing, you're meeting people that way, and you're meeting fans. You're in this place that a lot of people would like to be, and that I know that a lot of the creators that we talk to and we deal with, you know, they think about this kind of thing, like maybe comics is a way to go, and comics as a medium is maybe a little more accessible in terms of making it. I think to tell an elaborate story, it's a great medium to do this.
And you can do it for free now
online.
There's just so many possibilities now. So that's pretty exciting. Like, you got moving comics now and soundtracks for comics. It's pretty elaborate. I'm not that extensive. I'm pretty old school, but I like the tactility. I like that. It's just lovely to think of Spirit Leaves coming out as a trade this summer. That's very exciting. And just to have the whole story there. It has had some pretty interesting attention from studios, like Studio Leica. They were interested. Okay. They optioned for Spirit Leaves. I don't know what's going to happen with that.
So you've got an option with Leica?
Yeah. Pretty cool, guys.
Yeah.
At first, when I heard about that, I was like, hey.
That's Kubo, Coraline. That's a big deal.
It's the she's.
Yeah. No, that's exciting. That's really exciting. I mean, I looked at this and I always thought this has got that Miyazaki thing. It could be.
Yeah, it's a huge influence of mine.
Yeah. So I always thought there was something there that could be done that way.
But yeah, doing both jobs, like what we were saying, like animation and comics. Yeah, I was working all day, especially at that Nickelodeon show, full time, and then this, and then I was going to conventions. It's it's pretty draining. I would definitely have a crash and burn for a few days after getting like everything submitted and just meeting deadlines. I had like missed 1 or 2, which I'm pretty strict on that. Like, it's great that it's done now, but it takes its toll on you a bit. And especially doing everything on your own. It's not like I'm just doing a portion of a comic. I'm doing everything for it.
You work digitally?
I draw traditionally.
Yeah.
So
the comic is all done. So the comic is done traditionally.
Yep.
Colors?
That's digital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're drawing. You have some pages?
I do got some pages. Oh, so exciting. So I've just got some pages from issue. That's
some pinups.
Some pinups. But yeah, that's so fine. But yeah, we've got some. This is from the summer special, I think. So this was like a little short comic I did for. That's still Spirit Leaves.
Oh, this is the nudie one.
Oh, that is the nudie one. Can we not show that one?
I don't know. Maybe we can.
Maybe it's got no nips in it.
This is okay. This one's fine.
This one's like it's so intense to look at, black and white. So colors really help to separate it all.
And it helped to draw the eye around.
Yeah, it really does. Because some people say, do it black and white to save you time. I'm like, no, you would not be able to read anything on that page.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
I like it. It's fun to do. Like looking at so far away, you're like, oh, my eyes. And that's like the same thing. Yeah. It's good to have like open space as well.
Yeah. What do you use?
Anything. Yeah, I love using those Japanese brush pens.
Yeah.
And then just markers.
Yeah.
I use a whole bunch of stuff. Like you can tell with like more close-ups.
Yeah, you're not slavish to a particular pen or.
No.
Some people
I'm willing
are really
to try.
particular.
I know. I think I'm still kind of figuring out like what I really like.
That is an indigo blue color is under there though.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's blue pencil first.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Like you can see it with this one. There's a lot
But
of.
you're using the indigo blue too. That's mine. That's the one I use.
Yeah.
That's not indigo though. That's a different.
No, it's not. I like using the indigo though. But yeah. So it's all there.
Yeah.
But I like it, and it's amazing like the attention you can get and what people are kind of willing to pay for and stuff. That's always something as well.
But going from a person making this, working in animation, and then having this, how did you get from here to here? Like you mentioned Chapterhouse, but like I think the opportunity for this right now is to like, okay, that's the kind of stuff that we hear from people that like, oh, and then they Chapterhouse contact. But for someone who wants to make a comic, they want to hear this, like it's, like how did Chapterhouse, how did that happen?
I don't know. I think you had a bit of play on that, did you not?
I might have, but I'm not.
There you go. I'm
not looking for that, but I'm looking for. I think it's important, like, because we now we're seeming to talk about the hustle a lot now in terms of animation, but getting your jobs as a freelancer, that kind of thing. And a lot of people sit at home and they make their comics, they put them online, but this is real.
I know.
This is really real. So, okay, let's. So you came to work at Smiley Guy on Cursive Clara. Smiley Guy was also doing Captain Canuck animated with the guys from Chapterhouse. And so someone at Smiley Guy may have mentioned that there was this comic that existed because they were looking to round out their publishing. And they were just a little independent publisher out of Toronto. And they had Captain Canuck and they were doing some other books, like they're doing Northgard and some other things like that. But they were also like, and that's their sort of superhero universe. But they were looking for some some creator-developed, creator-owned books that they could publish.
Well, yeah, I think it was just timing was perfect, really. It was just like Chapterhouse was kind of starting. I was just around enough, and I had been around the stars anyway, and just getting involved with that community. Like I'm a complete outsider, so I'm just diving in, trying to get to know one, like George, and just knowing kind of the right people. But yeah, again, just meeting people at different stores.
But that's it. So it's
businesses.
because this exists because you made this.
Yeah,
and you were making another issue.
Yeah.
And then you're working at Smiley, and we're working with Chapterhouse, but you've already been over at Raid, and they Kalman, who makes the Canuck comic, works at Raid, and you'd been to Silver Snail, which was at the time George Zodi, who was also involved at Chapterhouse.
Exactly. It all kind of came together. Like, it was funny. I haven't really mentioned my time at Raid at all, but I was just there for, like, I should mention that because it's cool.
Raid is the Royal Academy of Illustration and Design. They have a very lofty name, but it's
a lofty name, but it's
hilarious.
Yes.
They've been around for many years.
Yes.
And they're basically a collective of comic book people.
Comic artists and
Mostly
illustrators.
artists and right now over there is Kalman, who is the guy who does Captain Canuck. Francis Manipul, who Flash, Detective Comics. Now he does DC's Trinity book.
Yep.
Ramon Perez.
Ramon Perez, yeah.
Who has just gone from Nova over to he's doing a book with Brian Michael Bendis next. I can't remember which one it is. But he did Hawkeye and he did Wolverine and the X-Men.
I remember
and
the Spider-Man he did.
Spider-Man book, yeah. Marcus Toe, Scott Hepburn.
Like, those are like some of the core guys, but there's just grown and grown.
Yeah, there's
people.
a ton
There's
of
Try Vaughn. He was an
I haven't met
animation.
Try yet. Yeah,
he's a sweetheart. He's really nice. No, he was from animation as well, and he started doing his comics, and he did it online. I still remember him asking me, "Can we go like through with a fresh draft together? Can you help me? Because you did self-publishing." I'm like, "Sure." And I think that was one of those moments. I'm like, "Oh, I'm being treated like one of the guys. It's so nice."
Like, so Kalman and Ramon both came through the Sheridan illustration program like you did. Scott is actually an animator originally.
I remember that. He gave me one of my big life lesson talks.
Oh, about not working in animation?
He maybe mentioned that. I see him as like a comic Buddha, almost.
Scott is very
wise.
Good. He's got opinions.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I love it. He's awesome. And his work has gotten so amazing.
Well, that's what was very appealing. I remember I was going through kind of a hard time, like just kind of figuring stuff out, what I wanted to do. And it was like, well, I did animation for a while and I loved it. But at the same time, I got bored because I wanted to do my own stuff. And that was just one of those moments I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to do that too. There was a duck in here? I'm like, oh.
But it's hard. I mean, that's in animation.
Hard.
It is. That's something I think.
It's a consistent job, right?
It is, but it's also very easy to lose yourself in the job. It's very easy to lose yourself in the art of other people. It's very easy to lose yourself in the various roles in it because it's this big assembly line.
It is. You gotta kind of keep going with your stuff. And I know I hear so many people just like, I'm so tired after work. I don't want to do anything. I'm like, me too. I'm gonna be working up till 2. And get up at like 6 or 7. Coffee. It's all about the coffee.
But I know Scott talks about he and even with the comics that he does, he feels a great sense of ownership over that finished product, over that artwork, and it's him on the page, and we don't get a lot of that. Like, I mean, that's where I think I can actually tie this. Look, I can actually tie this to Startoon. That's where Startoon is trying to do more idea, like cultivating shows and ideas that come from that same place.
Exactly.
That is that, like, this is what I make.
Exactly. It's just for you to hold on your own, and it's great now because I'm going to different tables and I'm ready to move on from Spirit Leaves. I think it's been
right. So you finished now,
push.
5 issues,
finished.
And it was like last week you're done.
Yep. I'm just done. I think the ending is very nice. I think people will be satisfied. I'm happy how it's turned out. Like, just seeing the style, even like the first 2 are nice, but then issue 3 and going into issue 5, I'm like, this is good. The colors are so much better. I've actually really enjoyed that. I've been offered like more jobs with coloring positions, but I'm like, I like that, but I want to draw. And what's nice now is like, because I'm wrapped up, it's like now it just seems like people like just asking me like, can you do this for us? Can you do that? There's something that I'll be doing with the Raid anthology and over the summer, which is very exciting, and I'm kind of like, oh, that's nice. I don't assume that, but it's just like, okay, like whatever you have, I'm more than happy to do something. And I just like that it's kind of evolving.
Yeah.
I didn't think this was like, you don't predict these things gotta happen, but now it is, and I'm just like rolling with it. Like, people are like, your successes. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
But you build some momentum. But you're doing.
But it's producing.
Yeah.
You have to keep producing all the time.
Yeah.
Like, even if I had like my 3-month window of freelancing, not working full time, but doing Spirit Leaves, I was still sketching away. And Instagram has just been really surprising me. Like, I hit my first over 2,000 likes on an image that I just doodled.
It's nicely supportive that way. It gives you a little shot in the arm.
It's kind of like, it's a wee moment of like, I'm just looking, it's climbing, and it's just a doodle I did. It's always death. Death is a very...
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it helps to be able to tag it something like that.
Yeah, that's just something like just such a like quite well established character, and it's just a doodle I did. I'm like, that's cute. I'll probably get like whatever, and then it's been my biggest hit, and I'm just like, what are you guys doing?
But so that's something not also to neglect, is that the way that kind of thing can help build a career.
Yeah.
Years and years and years ago, there was an online drawing board that Shane Glines was the guy behind. So Shane's currently the primary designer, art director on the new Justice League show, and he came up through the ranks like with Bruce Timm and John Kricfalusi and all that kind of stuff. But he ran this drawing board online before there were the various social media outlets. And that's kind of where I knew some of the guys from Raid from. Like I was in Ottawa just going on this board, and there were a lot of pros on it back when it started. And you can see people like, Sean Galloway, Cheeks. His career got built on that board.
Yeah.
He was a guy who drew a lot. Like he was a regular poster. His stuff was up there all the time. And it had a very animation-y kind of feel to it.
Yes.
And he got, I believe the gig he got from that was as a designer on some animated Hellboy.
Oh, really?
Straight to DVD kind of movies that got made.
That's great. I think of Spectacular Spider-Man.
That was later. So he,
it.
what's that?
I love it.
Oh, yeah, it's great. No, it's great.
So
He even
good.
put a mole on Peter Parker because he has a mole on his own face.
I know.
But it was cool to watch. You could just see him getting more and more attention, and then because there were a lot of like, by the time that thing kind of peaked, a lot of the pros were still there, but they were now just kind of lurking. And earlier on, you could get a lot of interaction directly with a lot of really cool people. But it was through that I believe he got his sort of audition, and he had to alter. It still was the version of it that came out was not pure Cheeks for that, but that led to other design gigs, and to the point where he designed was it the Ultimate Spider-Man or the Spectacular Spider-Man?
Spectacular.
He designed that show.
Yeah.
You know, and then now I just see knockoffs of his stuff everywhere.
So do I. I remember watching that show, not really knowing who he was, but I was like, I really love this. And then it wasn't until I really started to get involved with animation, and I started to kind of discover like Claire Wendling, who's the artist, and you're gonna and I was like, I only discovered her like when I came here, and Cheeks, and it's great now because Instagram, I'm following those guys and they're following me back. Yeah. And that's really nice.
I have a couple online relationships that are like that.
Yeah.
That we interacted back in those days, and they kind of held on a little
Instagram
bit.
is nice because it seems way more professional, and so you're getting like feedback from these guys, and it was really encouraging, and I like their stuff, and you kind of like mingle, but it's just feels very like, it's not like trying to show offy or anything. It's just very natural, and they're like, I love this sketch. And I remember meeting Eric Canetti last year.
It's one of my favorites too.
And I was really nervous in meeting him. He was talking to Ramon, and I'm like, he's over there. And the guy's like, just go say hi. And I'm like really awkwardly walking over. I'm like, hi, I really love your stuff. He's like, yeah, I like your stuff. I love your stuff too. Let's do an art swap. I follow you. And I'm just like, it was awesome. I was dreading that black bolt for like 3 days during that whole show. I'm just like, I gotta do this right. But really nice guy. And that was the thing where it's like, he follows me, but he probably doesn't know me. And he's like, oh yeah. I'm just like, okay.
But it's accessible. It's because in comics, there is that kind of like name and face and kind of rock star quality in the art side, and on the writer side too.
Yes.
And we don't have that in animation. We have, within our circles, there are some standout people that we all that we do know a little bit, but that's still more, we're credits that fly by at the end of a show.
I know.
And I mean, like your name's on the cover, and it's the same thing. I was 12 years old. I knew the names of letterers because I was that kind of comic book nerd. Yeah. Well, actually, the first times when I was 12 years old, my cousin knew the names of letterers. I was completely floored that he knew that, and so I had to start. Like, I could only do a couple of them.
Well, that was a skill in itself, though. The lettering. We used to back in Scotland. Well, in Dundee, it's DC Thompson, where they do the what are they called? Well, they did Beano and the Dandy, and also War comics. My tutors are gonna kick my ass because I can't remember the names of the comics, but they're like War comics.
Okay.
And they had like the little plastic lettering and place on top.
Like the letter set kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or so like Zipatone, lettertone.
It's so like charming, and there was a skill in that, and like actually lettering everything.
Hand lettering.
It's so different.
Well, Troy Little, who does Angora Napkin, and he did the Hunter Thompson Fear and Loathing book adaptation last year. So he's an animation guy from way back. But he just got he got nominated for his lettering. Like he's a guy who writes and draws and does all this other stuff, but he got his Eisner nomination. I mean, he's been Eisner nominated before, but he got an Eisner nomination for his lettering.
That's
and his
awesome.
lettering is beautiful. Like it's just, it's all, he's not a great speller, which I think is hilarious.
I can't spell for shit.
Yeah, well.
I just
Sorry,
can't.
Troy. Sorry, Troy. But he's, it's very much a part of, but now most of the mainstream stuff is just done, digitally.
Through Photoshop.
Yeah.
I
But
know.
but there is still that craft to it all. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of crossover and there's similar beasts. And it used to be, I think there was more crossover back when animation was less of a digital thing.
Yeah.
But this is what I've kind of found interesting about you, in that you fell into animation very similarly to how I fell into animation, just as someone who could draw pictures as a designer, that kind of thing. And it doesn't happen as much anymore.
No, well, it's amazing. I just see, like, I'm part of, like, the Seneca art board. Don't know how, just because I'm neighbors with Jim Zub. And he's like, hey, come along. I'm like, okay. So I went to that, and just what they offer at these schools, like Seneca, Sheridan, everything, it's just, I didn't get that at all.
Yeah.
And the portfolios are phenomenal. And I'm just like, wow, you offer so much. But it
And just the digital skills, the software you have to know today, and that kind of, like,
it's so different. But it loses, that's the thing, I'm a drawer, I'm a core drawer, and that is it's getting rarer and rarer now, just to draw on paper. Like, again, that's how I got my Nickelodeon job. I was sketching on paper, and it was just that engagement of like, I think you could do something here. I'm like, what do you have in mind? And then it just kind of continued from there. So just having those core skills are so important. Like, everyone can draw in a style. There's so many styles to copy from now, and Photoshop makes everything easy. But I'm finding, like, even at cons, like, I'm getting better at doing those like drawings you're given, and you do commissions.
Yeah.
And that's a skill in itself. You're like performing there, and it's important to keep those core skills, because I know too many that just don't. Yeah. So keep drawing naked people, kids.
Do you life draw?
Oh, I love life drawing. I haven't been for a little while,
Yeah.
but there's one I go along Broadview in King.
Yeah.
I think it's what's his name, Kagan McLeod.
Yeah.
It's his life drawing I go to.
Okay, cool.
I went there like once, and I fucking loved it. It was great. But I love life drawing. It's actually like, in school, everyone hated it, but I loved it, because that was the only thing I was really good at, was actually, I could actually draw realistic people, like, well, like actual people. I can draw good.
Do you do likeness?
I'm actually good at it.
Yeah?
But I just don't do it that often.
Yeah, likeness was never easy for me.
I was pretty good at
I can do the
it.
figure well, but likeness is tough.
Yeah, likeness I was actually good at. What I did in life drawing, I drew my images so huge, like everyone would be like in the page, and I'm just like, whoa! And
that's the key, though.
It is, and my tutors were like, this is great. I'm like, the dick's right here, and it's like, whoa! I remember the first class, and I'm like, whoa! Then the second class, I'm like, all right, take it all off.
It's a wiener, whatever.
It's a wiener.
We had in high school the same female model who would come, and every year it was like this. It was like the slowest striptease of all time.
Oh.
Because it was like, and when you were in grade 9, she'd be like fully clothed, and like in grade 10, she'd be in like a bathing suit. But like by the time you graduated, it was full nude life drawing.
Wow.
Like that's the day that like the door was closed, and all my friends were all like, so, and I mean. I went to an all-boys school too, so it was like, it had been an all-boys school. It was now co-ed, but like it was like this but you get, I mean, it was great in that as a teenager, I got desensitized to that as something that was like naughty or that kind of shit, because it's life drawing. It's the human figure.
It's so important. I love it. I find relaxing. Like that life drawing class I went to, it's like bring your own drinks. It's really chill. It's other professionals, so that's really nice. So I'm not going to give the key location because I like to just go there.
There are a couple of cool ones around town, though. I mean, I know.
Not sure.
So Gnome, our animator at Startoon, Gnome.
I need to meet that guy.
Yeah, you do. He does one, or he's got a friend who does one in their backyard.
Oh, that's cool.
There's there's takes on like the drink and draw kind of things. Like there's the like there's one that's like a burlesque kind of a.
Yeah.
There's like a cosplay one.
What, Tunes on Tap?
Yeah, I guess it's Tunes on Tap.
That's what's his name? Jeremy Carter, really?
Yeah.
That's him that runs it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to draw naked people, honestly. It's a few kicks. No, it's just so important.
You like to draw naked people with a drink in your hand.
Yes, it's like,
yeah.
Ching ching.
Excellent.
Looking good. No, it's just, I'm so bad at drawing men. I'm horrific at drawing men. Oh, yeah. I've always referenced Bruce Timm for drawing guys, but I'm trying to push out of my comfort level.
Okay.
Like I used to draw like muscly men all the time as a teenage girl. All the time, like all the manga boys.
I was always scared to draw girls.
Well, you draw what you know, right? I couldn't draw boobs for the longest time. Now I'm a pro of the big tits.
You're a tit pro?
I'm a tit pro.
All right.
Good talk, good talk.
You want to look around?
Sure.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody. This has been the Startoon Cartoon Podcast, coming to you from West End Comics with Rossi Gifford.
Hey.
Rossi, where can we find you online?
Instagram and perhaps Facebook. Rossi.Gifford.
Rossi.Gifford. Of course, for us guys, as always, subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Startoon CA, on Twitter, all that kind of stuff. Like, share, and hopefully this has been something you like and you will join us again. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Rossi.
Thank you, Mike.